All right, good morning. I'm back at the Mecca that is Nevada Pickup Park. I am quite stuffy today, but that's okay. I'm picking up a gaggle of parts, primarily a fuel pump. I guess it's like a cover. It has a hole through it. Some bolts for my transmission because it's metric, and it's weird because it's a TH350C, a deeper pulley, and a dust cover for the trans. Might look for a couple other things, but yeah, that's about it. So fingers crossed. Also, check out this wicked van that was probably pretty creepy when I was driving around. Alright, so I'm back from the junkyard, and let me show you what I've got, as well as some of the next steps for getting the truck running. So, I got an e-brake cable. It's a step-down style, so this just hangs from the dash, and then here's the release for it. Not essential, but I really wanted it, and I welded on brackets so I could have disc brakes in the rear, but I made sure to buy metric calipers, or they're called GM metric calipers, so they have an emergency brake. So I want to be able to use that emergency brake. So this is a sweet pickup. It's really easy to get. I also got a dust cover for the transmission. Very dirty. I didn't realize they're pretty cheap new. They're like 35 bucks, but still trying to save some pennies while I can. At O'Reilly's, I picked up the fuel mounting plate because I'm running the old style of the manual fuel pump. So I need that to be able to mount it on my newer 95 style block. The previous generation of blocks have like an oval pattern that matches this shape. So to run this one, I need this. I also got a new dipstick tube that actually has the mounting, and this needs to be cleaned up. Second, I got a deep pulley, and I got a double groove because even though I don't have the money to finish the kit, I am eventually going to have AC in this truck and put it in. So hopefully this should work. Now the next steps are carburetor. Carburetor's been sitting a while. I don't know if the advancement pump or anything, if it needs to be rebuilt. Fingers crossed. It was 2 years ago when I tried to run this on the old engine, and I don't think there were any problems, but at the same time I couldn't get that previous engine to run. That's why I'm on this new one. So because I'm very limited in budget with finishing the rest of this truck, kind of in a tough spot right now. I can continue to dress up the engine bay, mount all the hardware, which is what I will do. But if the carburetor needs a rebuild, I am in a bit of a pickle because now this is just one of many parts, but because I have several of the Holley Sniper EFI parts, if I have to rebuild the carburetor, and I'm not sure how much carburetor kits, I don't know how much work I want to put into an old style carb, so I might switch to EFI. But the problem with that is that I have to actually buy the carburetor, because that's the one piece that I'm missing from this. Upgraded fuel lines, new fuel tank, fuel pump, so a bit tricky there. Likely won't go with this, so I'll probably just rebuild this. Probably cut this out, actually. So after thinking about it, not really in a pickle. If I need to, I will just rebuild that carb, but that might set this project back like a week or two until I can secure the funding for that, among other things that are needed. In addition, I will need to flush out these fuel lines. Dirt, debris just likely got in there, so I'll need to take care of that. Fingers crossed on the gas tank. I don't want to drop it because it was such a pain, and it was so weirdly mounted. The previous owner did not do a great job at relocating the fuel tank, or whoever did it. Whatever. But if it comes to that, then it almost might be worth it to come up with my own mounting system, and I really don't want a snowball project, but I'm just going to clean up the fuel hose. How about that? I don't want to snowball that problem. When I switch to EFI, I will build proper relocation supports and all of that. So that's that's where we're at. Essentially, I'm just going to continue to dress up the engine, get all of the alternator and the power steering. I do have the material that goes in between the valve cover and the block. Can't think of the name, but I need the engine builder recommended using number 2 something, like a compound on it to help seal it. Other people have recommended other things, but I'm going with what the engine builder recommended. So yeah, there we have it. Time for a little montage, I guess. All right, so I don't know where this will end up in an episode. I might head to New York for a few days, and so that's really going to throw off the timing. And when I say a few days, I mean actually like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and then I'll be on I'll have like long, 12 plus hour day shifts at work after that. So like I said, I don't know where this is going to end up. But what I am working on is cleaning up the carburetor. Obviously, very grimy, but that's why we just have a full can of carb cleaner. Yeah, and I also have a rebuild kit that I got from Amazon, super cheap. So that's what's up. What I would like to do is, before I leave to New York, if I do, it's not for sure, is get the truck running. It's literally just that pump, and then I'm going to make sure that I clean the fuel lines. The fuel tank, I might drop. I'm not sure if I will, but definitely the fuel lines, because everything else is hooked up, essentially. I mean, I have to reattach the battery grounds, but after that should be good. So let's see if I can get some shots of this. All right, so this is why it pays sometimes to get a second opinion. So I went to the SoCal Speed Shop because I didn't think my local parts store would do me justice. Now, my fuel advancement diaphragm, this is what originally came with it. And you can see it's able to bend, and it still plunges and goes up and down. But I was worried about this seal being old, and might as well replace it while I'm rebuilding the rest of the carb, right? So then this is what I got in my cheap little kit, and you can see that spring is noticeably bigger. And so I was worried, maybe this is too much and it just won't work for my application. All right, so I head down to SoCal Speed Shop, and I get this piece, which is for my 1506 or 1406 Edelbrock Performer Series. Good. What he tells me is this could have been a good one, but that spring is just way too heavy duty and whatever. But this came from a 750 series carburetor, so that was just massive. It was way too big for my stock carburetor, or my 600 CFM carburetor. And likely, if I went to the parts store, they would have sold me, of this exact replacement, which wouldn't have been good. So sometimes, take the time to not just search a forum, but actually go in person to an expert and get a second opinion. All right, back to the carburetor rebuild. right, so several hours later, we have a very nice clean carb that is completely rebuilt, and I only have 3 extra gaskets that weren't just like extra gaskets. No idea what these are for. And I looked at several videos, and I'm not sure. Maybe that's for the fuel advancement. No one ever mentioned this. No idea what that could go to. Maybe a distributor. I don't know. I don't know why I'd come with this, but yes, here we go. I'm not sure the next step. I think it's going to be to put this on and clean up my fuel lines. All right, so we're back, and I made a big addition to the workspace. I think I mentioned it, but I added a nice solar sail. Yes, it's not the final iteration, but this is awesome. I honestly think that it's like 10 degrees cooler in the the depths of the garage. So wonderful. Like I said, I rebuilt the the carburetor, and now I'm adding gaskets to the valve covers. I already did this side. Now I'm going to work on this side, and essentially I'm going to take some of this 3M yellow super weather strip and gasket adhesive that was recommended to me by the guy that built my engine, and put it all around the valve cover and wait 5 minutes for it to get nice and tacky. And I'm going to stretch my rubber gasket over it, and you can see I did a decent job. There's some areas where I just put a little bit more than I'd like to, but overall A-. Then I'm going to take some of that gasket maker and put it around the head and wait about 5 minutes for that to get tacky. It already has a very stringy like consistency. And bolt this valve cover on. So for this one, I actually started with the 2 innermost and then worked my way out to the outers and then retightened them all. And then on this one, I started on one end and then gradually tightened the next and then went back through again. I don't know which way is better, but I did both. So we'll see what happens in the end. And a big key here is making sure that you don't pinch the valve cover seal. I did on this side a little bit, but I was able to fix that before it became any issue. And that kind of was an advantage of these rubber gaskets as opposed to the cork. And, you know, the cork can rip. I don't know if these are not good in like high horsepower street cars, but I think in a mild engine like this, these are perfectly acceptable. So now probably going to button up a couple of things in the rear, like rear of the engine, like that rear trans coolant or like trans fill tube, the clamp for the distributor. Then over here I need my water temperature sensor to be filled, which right now it just is filled with a I don't know what a filler bolt thing. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, I need to take that out and put in the old quote temperature sensor, and after that I can mount the carburetor. I think, maybe, fingers crossed. All right, good sign. The fuel is pressurizing. I don't see any leaks.